Really excited to have Rick Scurfield on Tech Sales Insights. Rick is CRO of Vast Data and certainly has a vast amount of great information to share with us today. Our title topic is Tips to be a Better Cross-Functional and Strategic Thinking CRO. So something that's near and dear to lots of our hearts. For those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. For those that are not, Tucker will throw up a free link. You can go to salescommunity.com/spring free. Well, it's still spring here for a little bit. And as always, thanks, Tucker, for your help here behind the scenes. We also have Sandler as our sponsor for today. They are the sales training and talent management sponsor of Sales Community. Been around forever. Literally thousands of customers. Some of the pain points that we're seeing these days is kind of evaluating talent and saying, are you ready to go where the puck is going? And then a lot around first line management training as well, as long as on top of a lot of the other normal areas. So by way of introduction, Rick lives with his lovely wife, Michelle, in Chevy Chase, Maryland. They've got 3 great kids. And we're trying to think back. We only recently met probably a few years ago at an NPower event. I think you're talking to Bill Hogan and walked by, and Bill said, you guys must know each other. And we said, no. He goes, that's crazy. You guys for sure will get to know each other well and become best friends. So that has happened. So I should thank Bill Hogan for that. And then when you're at NetApp, we did some work together. And then now certainly at Vast Data. So helping me with some intro comments I get from a couple friends. So Rick DeGangi, who you worked with at NetApp and now at Vast, says Rick's leadership embodies excellence through his unique blend of strategic acumen and empathy. He fosters a workplace culture that prioritizes both the company's objectives and the holistic well-being of its employees. His unwavering dedication to drive revenue growth is matched by his commitment to fostering team development and creating an environment where individuals feel valued and empowered. In the fast-paced and competitive world of technology sales, Rick's leadership serves as a shining example, inspiring others to emulate his approach and values. So that's pretty good. And then from Tom Mendoza, who's a longtime friend, both of ours, I know a mentor to yours as well. Said before becoming the CRO of Vast Data, Rick was instrumental in building NetApp's tremendously successful federal business before doing the same as a leader of Asia Pac and then NetApp's global business. If you want something built successfully in a way that you will be proud of, Rick is your guy. So it's pretty cool. It says a lot coming from Tom as well. And Rick's also on the advisory board of Sales Community, so thanks for that, and has participated in the Beaver Creek event and some other things that we do. So jumping into the questions here. So undergrad, you're University of Pittsburgh, and then you went to Notre Dame. Before it was the Mendoza School of Business.
Yep.
And then your first job out of college was actually PwC?
Yeah, it was actually Price Waterhouse, even before the C came in. Yeah. And so, out of my MBA school career, I actually got put into a Price Waterhouse education program to learn how to do COBOL programming. And so I started my career as a very technical person doing COBOL programming, and then flying around the world doing installing and moving systems from a Wang VS system to an IBM mainframe at embassies and around the world. So It was a very very different world that I started into where I ended up today.
Wow. And then briefly go through your career from there.
Yeah, from there, after Price Waterhouse, I went to a startup company doing some business in the intelligence community. That led me into sales with a company called PowerSoft as an SE. And then I went from PowerSoft was bought by Sybase. And so I was a salesperson and a district manager and a regional director at Sybase. And then I did another startup company called Artesia Technologies before joining NetApp in 2002. And then I spent 20 years at NetApp in a variety of different roles, federal, OEM, ran Asia Pacific, living in Singapore. Then I ran our global accounts and ended up as the chief commercial officer there.
Awesome. What was the size of NetApp when you started there?
We were about a little over 800 million. I don't know how many employees. I don't remember how many employees we had. We had just come off the dot-com bust, and I was one of the first employees coming back in the federal group after the hiring was restarted. So we were little less than 900 million.
Wow. And what is it these days?
That's over 6 billion, I think, these days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So moving on here, Vast Data, certainly amazing company. I think it's publicly available, but last round valuation was $9.1 billion. It's crazy. So obviously huge opportunity, lots of success. Tell us a little bit more about what Vast Data does.
Yeah, Vast Data is, they call it the data platform. So one of the pieces we are is in data storage, which is a lot of the legacy, and a lot of the people that we have coming into the company came from the data storage market, but we're much broader than that. We actually are creating a compute engine. We actually have a model and an architecture that's called the data pipeline that takes each one of the pieces that data goes through in an AI type of a infrastructure. Each one of those different areas needs different capabilities inside of how you handle data. And Vast Data is looking at beyond just the storage component into the broad area of how do you actually do data management in a data platform in these new workloads and the new ways of handling data.
Well, and your role as CRO involves which of the functional areas besides sales?
Yeah, the CRO is probably it's the easiest way to describe it is I run all of sales, all of revenue operations, all of service and support. I do enablement, and all of the channels, pathways, OEMs, alliances, pretty much everything except the product side of the house and the marketing side of the house falls somewhere into my domain.
Great, very very impressive. So I guess the epitome of one throat to choke.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And as we're going along here, for anybody that is listening or watching along, feel free to pipe in with any comments or questions for Rick as well here. So from a kind of ideal customer profile, kind of what type of companies and kind of what level of decision makers do you focus on?
Yeah, it's interesting. At Vast Data, we're looking at a different customer profile than we were. If I look, a lot of because I spent 20 years at NetApp, I have a lot of my context is on that. It's a very different customer. It's a lot of the customers are coming from the HPC world. They're in the HPC world. They come from the HPC world. So it's a very, very technical audience that we sell to. But at the same time, they're buying very large systems. They're buying expensive systems. A lot of it is GPU as a service customers. It's a lot of the CSPs. A lot of customers that are looking for using a tremendous amount of data to run their systems. If you look at a lot of the hedge funds are utilizing Vast Data, so the buyer is generally the technical buyer. It's not the infrastructure buyer. It's the business unit. It's the business buyer and the technical buyer.
Wow, amazing. So I would imagine to support your growth, you are hiring?
We are hiring a lot, all the time. Yes, sales. We are very lean on an infrastructure, but we are looking at anything that anybody we hire coming into the company is looking at how do you actually help us drive revenue. So sales and SEs are the main place that we're hiring right now.
So kind of high level from a profile side, or maybe anything that's kind of different from what people might expect in the hiring profile.
Yeah, we're really looking at industry specialties when we hire people, and it's a model where a lot of experienced people. So startup companies generally, sometimes they'll look at entry level people. This because of the complexity of who we're selling to and the systems that we're selling. We're looking for more mature people, experienced people that have industry specialty, salespeople that have technical knowledge and technical backgrounds, and technical people that have the sales acumen as well. So in some cases, we're trying to find unicorns out there, but we do a very a robust interview process, making sure that we have the right fit, both from a culture perspective as well as a talent and experience level as well.
Gotcha. So when you say mature, does that mean you and I fit or don't fit that profile?
You know what? I hope, I fit it, but Randy, you actually fit as well. Absolutely.
All right, appreciate it. So yes, certainly amazing and great company. Look forward to watching your continued success. So if we move on to the title topic, which is tips to being a better cross-functional and strategic thinking CRO. Certainly, I don't say it's a shock, but there's probably been a lot that's really different if you take NetApp, large and established, and not that Vast is a raw startup, but relatively speaking, certainly an earlier stage company. So you must see kind of requirements kind of in the sales process and sales engine a bit different.
Yeah, it's a very different way of looking at the market right now, because we're a small company. I'd say we're not a startup anymore. We're going to scale. And so when you go from that, you cross that chasm and you're moving into a scale type mode, the most important thing, because you don't have the size of a sales force and a technical selling sales force, you have to really leverage the ecosystem. So something that's very different that I've noticed here at Vast is just how you have to utilize the ecosystem. How do you have to build those partnerships to sell? You can no longer, you don't sell as an individual. You absolutely have to think about how do we use our products organization. We oftentimes bring in our engineers to help us sell. How do you bring in a very different partner community to help you sell? How do you bring in alliance partners? It's a different way of thinking and a different way of acting, both as a sales rep and as a frontline sales manager, where you have to really think about where are the influencers, who are the people that have the mind share of the customer that you're trying to sell to, because again, you're looking at across a full data pipeline, what are they actually looking from a business outcome, and who are all the different pieces that come into that generation of that business outcome. And it's not just a matter of selling storage to an infrastructure person, it's really selling the value of what we do to different buyers across that data pipeline. And so the person has to think not about how am I going to build an account plan just on the people that I can access, the people that I can leverage. It's how do I actually now bring in an influence market or an influence community that's going to help me sell as well.
Wow. So do you actually do QBRs where, pick the whatever large HPC account, could be X or Tesla or whatever, you may or may not want to name names, but when you're doing kind of those QBRs or account reviews, we actually have the kind of cross-functional DAS team, so having kind of marketing, engineering, sales, pre-sales, and then bring in any of those outside kind of alliance partners as well, so that way everybody's really acting as a team.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Our district manager sets up these meetings for QBRs, for business reviews. Our executives, our CEO and our co-founder, they get highly involved in the deals as well. So they're coming in with their inputs. We have finance that comes in. We have our some of the channel partners. We have the alliance partners that come in, and we all sit down together because some of these deals are they're massive. They're not just your 100K deals and things like that. These are ones that are span 6, 7, and sometimes 8-figure deals that you're really looking at. How do you actually win those? And so that takes that business planning and the account planning and the opportunity close plan. How do you bring all of these people together so that they're working in concert with what you're trying to get accomplished?
Yeah, awesome. So we have a comment and question here from Justin. He says, busy man, probably about all your great efforts, things going on. And then from Bill asks, what differentiates Vast from competitors in the market? Why do you lose deals to the competitors?
Yeah,
your call how you want to answer.
Yeah, good question, Bill. What differentiates us is the way that we're looking at solving the business problem. Again, a lot of the focus we have right now is on the AI market, and it's not just about storing. It's storing data and retrieving data as fast as you can, having I/O and things like that in and out of the storage device. It's really about how do you look at that, and I keep coming back to it. I call it the data pipeline. How do you aggregate the amount of information that you need, the right information that you need to pull it into a training environment? How do you run it into those training environments? How do you then take the right information out of those training environments, putting into an inference environment. How do you actually push that data all around those different pieces of that data pipeline? And so that's what differentiates us, is we actually span the pipeline versus being a point solution within the pipeline. Why do we lose to competitors? It's a great question, and it really focuses on because we go after the wrong opportunity. And I've had conversations with companies that are in kind of the same space as us, and it's very true. Sometimes if the two of us are in the same opportunity, one of us is in the wrong opportunity. So why do we lose? It's because we've actually gone after somebody that doesn't get the full value of what we do, doesn't need the full value of what we do. And it comes in, somebody else will come in and say, I can do that point solution much better than Vast can.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, over the years, I would do, just to dumb it down for the sales force, I'd say, okay, here's a green zone opportunity, here's a red zone, because this, Salesforce sees, hey, huge opportunity, however you want to treat a deal at scale. I'm like, okay, no, if it has these attributes, we don't want to do it. If it does, then we do, right? And the last thing, especially a smaller company, is then you get you get resources all excited and energized. Hey, this big deal. And then all of a sudden it gets on your radar and like, what are you doing here? It's a waste of time.
Yeah. It's the classic, you can spend the same amount of time on a 100K deal as you can on a $10 million deal. Why are you chasing the 100K deal? Because you're probably not going to win it.
Right. Yes. Unless it's the Trojan horse and leads to.
Yeah.
Yeah, leads to another one.
A lot of proof of concepts that we do. So we'll actually go in, because a lot of this is new. And so that's another piece of this selling cycle, which is people want to see what the technology can do, what the solution can do. So we do a lot of proof of concepts as well.
What about it seems like, in the old days, it would, in our sleep, we'd say, okay, what's the criteria? If it does A, B, and C, you're going to buy it. Here's who's involved in the process and cycle. Do you find kind of that old school mindset something that you still have to kind of reinforce with the sales teams?
Yeah, there's definitely, there's sales 101 that you have to do in all of them. Like, who are you map out, you do the relationship map. You do the product fit. You do the ecosystem influencers. You find out, who is who is out that I always like to say the classic phrase I use with my sales teams is, don't tell me why you're going to win, tell me why you're going to lose. And then if you focus on where your gaps are in that, then all of a sudden you start to find out that you have missing information. You have pieces of you'll find influencers that you didn't really think about. And so if you really think about how you're going to lose, it brings on a different way of thinking about the opportunities.
There you go. Awesome. Gotcha. All right. Looks like we had a Freudian slip here. Yeah, put in Dell, but then he mentioned you sell. So now that makes more sense. Good engineering versus best sales. What is more important to sell SaaS cybersecurity product? So not sure if it's more of a statement or question, but if you have any perspectives to share, feel free.
Yeah, I'll take the first part of it. Good engineering versus best sales. We don't sell a cybersecurity product, but we do sell a SaaS product. We are a SaaS provider. We're a software company. I would say at the stage that we are in the company, it's both. If you don't have a good engineering and an agile engineering organization that is collaborating very closely with the sales organization, you got to have both of them. And I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but I'm going to use it. It requires both. That because we run into a lot of, again, because this is a new world, a lot of the opportunities we're running into are capabilities that have never been seen before. And how do you actually sell that? The traditional sell what's on the truck, but there's a lot more selling of the vision, selling of the opportunity, selling of the roadmap that has to happen because of the capabilities and the requirements that are coming on in some of these new workloads.
Totally. And I guess I now understand the question better in terms of what's more important, good engineering or best sales. I'd argue that you can have a okay product, but if you have a great sales force, you can sell it. If you have a weak sales force and a great product, unless it's like a PLG motion, you're probably not going to sell much. So to your point, you do really need both to be ultimately successful. So thanks for that question. And then now with all this, it's kind of a different mindset as well, right? You kind of coming in terms of kind of how you think of things, how you attack things as well, on top of some of the things you already said, right?
Yeah, it's a definitely a different mindset. It's an energy mindset. It's a do it mindset. We have a phrase that our mission right now is sell more faster, which everybody wants to sell more and everybody wants to sell faster.
Perfect.
It really creates an environment when you have a startup mentality in a scale mode, that you still have a lot of people. I'm not just doing one job, I'm doing many jobs at any point in time. The people that are my leaders on my team are not expected to have, we don't have job descriptions. The job description is get the job done, and whatever it takes. Renan, our CEO, has a motto of, don't think about organization charts. Go to the person that you can help get your job done. Go to them, get it done. The people that's receiving that request, they know their responsibility is to help that person get their job done, no matter what that is. And so it creates an energy around the company that's fantastic. But sometimes it takes when you bring new people in, just trying to get them ingrained into that culture is a very different approach to how we sell.
Gotcha. Great. And then there's probably some kind of different ways that people learn differently now, right?
Yeah. A lot of what we do, we talked about the sales process. That's there. So we still teach the sales process in the new world, but it's also the selling, how do you learn? We talk a lot about unlearning what you learned for the last 20 years. So I've been the CRO at Vast Data for 3 months. I'm in the unlearning mode of a lot of things that I learned over the last 30 years, because it's just a different way that you have to approach the market. So our enablement process is actually unlearn first in order to learn the way that we need to do things at Vast Data and moving forward. And you have to, in the interview process, you have to make sure you're interviewing people that have that mindset of, I don't know it all. I'm going to bring what I know and we're going to do it exactly the way I do it. I'm going to learn how Vast Data does it, how that we do things differently to be able to sell to the customers that we were targeting.
Great. And then before you're talking about on the partner side with channel partners, distributors, are there any kind of it's always hard when I ask specific names, but any kind of key go-to ones that have been especially helpful?
Oh yeah, I mean I would be remiss. WWT, everybody knows WWT. They're doing a fantastic job. Jim Cavanaugh is one of the leaders in the industry, in the channel around how do you do AI? How do we position AI in the channel? How do we work with these large CSPs, GPU as a service companies? So he's one. Sean Cairns over at Arrow. We use Arrow a ton, and working with them on how do we the business model at Vast, let me just take a step back real quick, is a little bit different, where we sell the software, but we don't sell the hardware. We help our customers configure the right hardware. That hardware can be acquired through our OEM with HPE. It can be acquired through our OEM with Supermicro, or it can be acquired through one of our contract manufacturers where they actually sell the hardware. We sell the software. We meet in the channel with a single quote to the customer. And so we do a lot with Arrow in that we do a lot with TD, and then globally we have a lot of channel partners and distributors. One of the things that we're doing right now is it's so funny. We're early in our tenure as a company, but we're already going through distribution rationalization because we've had distribution spread. When you're starting off, every sales rep wants to sell with their favorite distributor, especially internationally. And so we're going through distribution rationalization right now to make sure we're focusing on the right ones and we're putting the right financial investments behind the ones that we think can make a difference for us around the world.
Awesome. So shifting gears here a little bit. So you've had, I know, a lot of great mentors over the years. Any one or two in particular you want to call out, and any specific advice you received?
Yeah, so just being at NetApp for 20 years, I always call myself, I'm a disciple of the Dan Warmenhoven, Tom Mendoza world, and the culture that they built. It's amazing what that company, what they created, how they created it. But they also, you bring in the people that helped make that happen, which was the Mark Webbers and the Eric Manns and Rob Salmon and people like that really helped create the culture. I owe a lot of what I do today and how I approach the market. And the comment that Rich said and Tom actually said at the beginning of this came from just living that and experiencing how we built a culture there, which was actually fantastic. And you realize how difficult that was for them to do that when you go to a new company. Again, I was at NetApp for 20 years. I just kind of thought that's the way it was. And now I came into Vast and really looking at how do we create that culture around people, around, customers, and all of that merging together, the product, the customer, the employees, and how do we create that culture around it? It was a fascinating, thing that they created and a difficult one to replicate.
Yeah, certainly. It's amazing, and it's with I think all of them now not there any longer. It's great to see that it's still surviving. So
yeah,
put a lot of great things in.
And the great thing is we still keep together. We still we talk a lot and we communicate and we share ideas and Dan and Tom are incredibly helpful. Whenever I reach out and ask for help, they're there for me, and which is fantastic to have.
That's great. And kind of on the other side, you certainly had a lot of sales leaders working for you. Any kind of one or two that you'd call out that you've had over the years?
Well, since Rich said some nice things about me at the beginning, he was probably just working a goal reduction there.
I was going to say that, but I don't want to. I'll keep it more genuine.
No, Rich is a great guy. He's a great sales leader. I've had a lot of really, really good sales leaders over the course of my tenure. And it's really nice to see them at different places. I look at the companies where people have landed at Salesforce, at Zscaler, a lot of people at Hitachi right now that were in my domain as I went through my NetApp career. Just seeing where they've landed and the jobs that they've taken on has been fantastic.
Yeah, really, really great. So what about any advice to your younger self?
Wow, it's a great question because I have a younger self because I have twin boys that just graduated. Well, one just graduated from college. The other one took a gap year, so he's going to be a senior. I think the advice to my younger self is just pick something you're passionate about and do it. I mean, that's cliche, but I also say, I'm married up. I want to make a lot of money with what do I like to do, and put those two things together. And really, so that's one thing. The second thing is when you do that, you just gotta, whatever it takes to get the job done. I mean, I talked about my Price Waterhouse job. I had just gotten married and was out of the country 3 weeks out of every month, going somewhere in Central America, in Asia, Mexico City, doing the job, and then coming home for a week and then back out again for another 3 weeks. There's a lot of that. I think that's a lot of grit, and there's a lot of attitude, and that you have to really take in as a new employee of just get the job done and do the best job you can in whatever you're trying to do, and good things will lead from that.
Absolutely. So are you implying that Michelle has a high burn rate?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. She was actually working on contract with the State Department while I was traveling around the world. She was traveling around the world, which helped lead us to that opportunity that was great. That NetApp gave us the opportunity to move to Singapore for 5 years with our kids. We were ready for it. We knew what we were going up against, and that's the other thing I would recommend to anybody out there is if anybody says, "Would you like to do that?" Just say yes. You can always move home. You can never say, "I should have." I wish I would have. That's one of the things that I try to instill in my kids is don't ever say, "I wish I would have." Just do it, and then you can right decision or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I opened up the office for EMC in England and the UK, and then after that, did the same thing for Australia. So great experiences there, and lifelong friendships as I know you still have. So on the kind of lead generation side, interestingly enough, you had a BDR group, had a large kind of cold calling group, and you've kind of pivoted on that.
Yeah, one of the things at Startup Company, you try things, right? We tried a BDR group, and it didn't work out. And for a variety of reasons. One is our ideal customer profile didn't match a bullpen calling center. And so we took a look at that and said, would these resources be utilized better? So what we did was we said, hey, this group isn't working, the traditional, restructuring activity that happened. But then we also looked at what is it that level of experience and talent could do. And we brought some of those folks back in to be helping us out with the channel, helping us out with the partners, and doing things that were more operational to help our sales teams become more productive. In that way, they would learn how to do things better. And that seems to be an opportunity. That model is working better than to have people pounding the phones looking for leads. We know who our who the customers are that we're targeting. We know how to build indirect ways into those customers, and so we realized we didn't need to have that BDR group.
Well, awesome! Really, really amazing there. Anything else creative that you're doing on the lead gen side? We're working a lot with. We do a lot of different trade shows. It's not different. It's just then once we get the leads from the trade shows, how do we hand those out? We have a model where a lot of those leads, and I can speak for NetApp. Those leads would go to an inside sales team for triage, and then they would go. The classic marketing development lead goes to sales development lead to sales accepted lead, blah blah. All of that process. We've made that much more efficient and productive. We get a good lead. We have a list of accounts that we want to target. They go right to the sales reps. And then we have a follow-up to make sure that they're actually following up on those leads. So one of my kind of pet peeves, one of several, I guess, these days, but I've been to several different conferences, and I find the people that take care of booth duty are just awful, right? I mean, I'm an old guy, could be executive job, could buy from them or not, but just the way they engage, that they really don't kind of qualify fast, they don't position. You're spending a lot of time and effort and money to be at any of these trade shows or conferences.
Yeah.
Anything special that you do to make sure that you've got people that are handling the booth duty appropriately? Yeah,
we definitely don't use the junior people at our trade shows. What we do, one of the groups that works for me is the office of the CTO, Octo, and these are our really, really super technical people that also have skills that can communicate what the value proposition of Vast into those customers, and those are the ones that we have at most of our trade shows. And because we find that a lot of the people that we want to talk to have that technical background, they want to dive in right then. Right. And they want to dive into it. They don't want to just listen to the high level pitch. And so we do a lot of trade show staffing with Octo, with our SE leadership team, and our some of the SEs that are there, and the sales reps are more making sure that if there are executives coming in, people that we want to build relationships with, we have a set of those as well.
Wow, awesome. What about we've certainly seen, sales ops emerge and grow a lot from 10 to 15 years ago till today. Now, kind of generally, called more RevOps. What do you see there?
Yeah, we have a lot of people that want to, give us a lot of tools. And our RevOps team is focused on really how to use the least amount that have to know how to actually people run the they're much more engaged in the business, a lot more engaged on the strategic planning with the sales team on pricing, but they also are looking at a lot how do you use we use Salesforce, we use SFDC, how do we get the most out of SFDC as possible, and then anything else that we use has to link into that. And so the experience level of RevOps is also, again, it's not on the junior side. We bring in a lot of the experienced people.
Right. And then your strategy on using sales and marketing tech tools?
The strategy is as many as possible and as few as needed. And that's why, Randy, we've talked before about, I get phone calls and I get emails, 2 to 3 a day. about how, different tools that are out there. I'd love to evaluate. I'd love to communicate. I'd love to hear about all of these. The model that we use is as few of those as possible, and as many as needed. But so a lot of it is just we're still in that mode of how do we do things, that hero mentality that lives everywhere from RevOps and spreadsheets out to the field sellers.
Yeah, right. And before you talked about the importance of kind of developing the team, a lot of companies had people that were promoted in as first line managers kind of during COVID, may or may not have deserved it. New hires coming in, that kind of the first line sales, not that you're not important, but that kind of first line sales management group, that's really the leverage and the juice to, sales organizations. Anything special you're doing there?
Yeah, we've had some hits and misses. What you talked about earlier, which is, taking your superstar sales rep and moving them into a district manager. And we've had hits and misses on that. One of the things that we do is we don't do a lot of training because of the pace that we're moving. And so we have to have people that come in that understand what it means to be a frontline manager. I agree 100%. That is the most important job in the company. That first line sales manager, the DM, that's where the accountability goes in. That's where the customer relationships go in, the customer experience. How do you handle all of that? That is most difficult and most important job inside of the sales organization. And we are right now working through how do we actually create a new enablement program for them? How do we do more training for those people that are coming in?
Awesome. We have a question from Amar Preet. What are the tools and technologies you have seen the most success with at Vast or earlier at NetApp? I think in NetApp at one point when we were talking, you had 150 or 200 tools spending a ton of money, and we're looking to consolidate. So you certainly don't need to mention all of them, but maybe a few.
Yeah, it's a good lead in. We actually did a study. This was when I was the chief commercial officer, about what are all the sales tools that we use. And, I was thinking there's maybe 10, 15 sales tools. It came back, I think it was 120 different tools that were used somewhere in the sales organization. And so we went through a whole rationalization process of, we went through each one of the different, what are the different pieces of the selling process, and what are the best tools that we can have at each one of those to really consolidate those down. And so, obviously, we were actually right. Part of what caused that was we were in the move from a different CRM system into Salesforce, and that caused us to relook at some of those tools. I actually don't remember a lot of the names of them. I was a user versus a buyer, I guess, but I don't remember a lot of the names of what were the best or not. So I'd hate to just say on this call which ones do I remember, because they might be good and they might be bad, the ones I remember. Sometimes the things we remember are all the ones that have the problems versus the ones that were delivering the good things, right?
Yeah, totally. And what about kind of in the new dynamic that's kind of Vast Data, again, maybe compared to the NetApp, how important still is the value of relationships?
I think it's 100%. It's always value of the relationship. It's who do you have the relationships with these days that I think is really, it's different from Vast versus who we had the relationships with NetApp. Again, I'll go back to, the data center people, the infrastructure buyer is not necessarily the one that is the target customer for us right now. The target customer for us are the AI business users, the analytics users, the people that are running, these very, very experienced technical people, but also business savvy people that are running the cloud service providers, the GPU as a service companies. I mentioned hedge funds. These are technical buyers, and so, but it's the model of your question was around the relationships. Those relationships have to be handled with those folks as well. And it's a very different, when I came into Vast, it was funny. I guess we sales managers have a reputation of steak dinners and playing rounds of golf. And it was clearly said, our customers that we sell to, Most of them don't like steak dinners and play rounds of golf, and they don't wear suits and sport coats to their job every day. So, we have to actually look at how do you, it's that get to know your customer, situational awareness, know your audience. It's very different in these days of who those buyers are that are buying a lot of things.
Absolutely. And another question here. Last few years, a lot of uncertainty in the market due to COVID and the wars after COVID and the fighting. How do you see the current and future market scenarios?
It's a great question. I'm not a prognosticator. There's the industry is full of those. I'll tell you what I see now and and this is, I'm going to say something that is always up for debate. So this is great. So we'll see what the debate comes out of it. What we see now was, with COVID-19 and what was happening before, there was this massive everything
a little free
moving to the cloud. I was at NetApp. It was a huge push to create capabilities because everything was moving to the cloud. And with what we're seeing right now with the volumes of data and the processing power that is needed, there's things are moving to colo facilities. They're moving to GPU as a service companies, cloud service providers, not necessarily the hyperscaler clouds. They're moving into that, and there is a movement of repatriating data back from cloud on-prem. Now, I fully admit that might be self-serving for what I'm saying and what I do and who I work for and what we're seeing in the market. But we're talking in working with models that are exabyte size, and we've actually had conversations of what happens over the next couple of years with zettabyte size data sets that we want to be leveraging to do our training environments, and how do you get the number of GPUs in order to process that, and what happens with the data. You have to have the data co-resident with all of that. That really creates a whole new different way that the market is going to move, because it's not going to be your general purpose hyperscalers versus we're seeing a lot of verticalization of that, industry specific cloud service providers, industry specific CSPs that are working specifically with models that are targeted at their specific industry that they're going after. We see that as a movement over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think it was a lot during COVID. There's a, talking about Y2K, kind of almost like a fast bubble around valuations, around selling. I mean, certainly hospitality maybe was tough, but generally speaking, tech, I mean, you had the fish kind of jumping in the boat, and all these, sellers thought they're, didn't stink and they're awesome. And all of a sudden now you have to actually, do real sales, and it's harder. Like, geez, it's not like before. This is so, it's so hard. People aren't calling me back. I'm doing this or that. And it's like, okay, you just got to go back to old school and just do all the right, sales basics. So yeah. I think throughout you still got to kind of, hustle and do the sales basics. And at the end of the day, I'm an optimist. I think it'll go well, and good companies with good people, good offerings will do real well. So
yeah, that just reminded me, Randy. I mean, one of the things that COVID, that I think it was a false narrative that was, well, look, COVID, because nobody's going look how much we could sell by just doing Zoom calls, and we don't have to actually travel, and we don't have to go meet with our customers in person. We can just do Zoom calls.
Right.
I think that was a false narrative. We're seeing a tremendous amount of demands for us to, we'll fly anywhere in the world to meet some of these customers because they want to sit in a room. They want to have that right. Personal intimacy, that personal connection when you're doing the negotiation. We're doing the discussion. I don't know, people that are out there, and if you've been traveling recently, the airports are just absolutely packed.
Yeah,
planes are packed. It's it's incredible how much business travel has recovered, and as quickly as it's recovered, and how few of these kinds of meetings are actually happening. The virtual meetings are, they're supplementing that personal travel and that personal touch versus the other way around, where the personal meeting was supplementing the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, and I think even more pointedly, it's kind of created a lazy sales culture where, hey, I can do kind of good enough over Zoom, but to your point, hey, if they're going to take us face to face, we're going to go. So I think those companies that are promoting the face-to-face, I think are going to do better. And not to bash finance, but you have a lot of people that are looking at the bottom line. Hey, hey, let's keep the travel costs down. I mean, the cost pales in comparison with the return that you can get on incremental deals, incremental business, incremental relationships, right? You can, but you're not really going to have a relationship over Zoom. You go face to face to whatever they want to do, whether it's a meeting or you're going out to do some different things or activities or events. I mean, that's how you can really build the relationship.
That's right. Yep.
Just crazy. All right. So if this is one of your kind of rah-rah QBR team calls, you just went through everything else. So kind of your closing remarks for your team is what?
Sell more faster. The closing, I say that because literally it's almost every email I put out there, sell more faster. You got to keep reminding people to stay focused. That rally call is absolutely, how do you utilize the team? How do you get, but stay focused. I just put out an email today. There's this famous saying, ignore the noise, stay focused on the mission. And it's really important these days. There's so much noise that is generated in our day-to-day lives. And it's really that point of focus, and really stay focused on what you're trying to do and ignore the noise around you, and use that ecosystem and that partnership community and everything else to handle the noise, so that you can stay focused on what you actually have to do.
Absolutely. And I missed here a question from Chris, going back on the RevOps side with regards to RevOps. How often is your RevOps team meeting with your senior leadership to align with the strategy?
Yeah, almost every day. They're not just meeting with us to align to it. They're actually intimately involved in helping develop it. And because right now we're going through this whole process of bookings versus revenue versus ARR versus live RR and contract ARR. And how does RevOps, revenue on that, how does RevOps, how do they actually make sure we have the tools necessary to drive the analytics and drive the mission that we're trying to get to? So they're not just meeting with it, they're intimately involved in every one of our meetings that we're talking about it, whether it's go-to-market strategy, whether it's financial strategy, whatever that is. The RevOps people are at the table with us.
Awesome. That's great. Well, you've been awesome. Time flies when you're having fun. One of the closing questions I like to ask for people that know me, if there was any good PG Randy story.
Yeah, I had to think hard about that one, Randy. I think the best story is, I'm really, the restaurant that Amore in Naples. So Randy and I we each have places down in Naples. There's a fantastic restaurant. I'll go plug for the restaurant called Amore. And we just had an amazing meal there. Our wives, it wasn't just the two of us, our wives, and just getting to know each other. And Randy introduced me to that restaurant. So one of my favorites now. So thank you for doing that.
Great. Stefano provides a great experience before, during, and after. So great shout out for them. So Rick, you've been awesome. Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. For those that are watching, this gets kind of reposted everywhere. And I know we always get a lot of good, great views and everything else. So anyway, so Rick, wish you the best. Look forward to continuing to stay in touch and track your huge success. And Tucker, as always, thanks for your help behind the scenes.
Yep. Thanks, Randy. I really appreciate you having me.